All right, we're Team 6, and today we're going to be going over our final reflection vlog, and we're going to be talking about things we liked, things that we thought we learned, and possible dislikes that we had. I am Daniel.
I'm Sean.
I'm Michelle.
I'm Emily. We're going to start with talking about our volunteering service hours. We were all pretty surprised to find that we liked our service. We helped by sorting through donations at Goodwill. I liked it because it was very interesting and it was new. I'd never thought about what goes on behind the scenes at Goodwill. We sorted through lots of donations and there were some very interesting things.
I've never been to Goodwill, so new experience for me. But like she said, it was pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was also pretty nice to just take a break from school and do other things that benefited the community.
Yeah. We got to know each other a lot better. We, instead of just whenever we met with a group for an assignment for the class, we always just were focusing on schoolwork and getting the assignment done. But here at Goodwill, we actually got to talk more about each other's personal lives, and we learned a lot more about who the people actually are in our group.
Yeah, getting out and actually doing something like, it was almost like manual labor, and traveling somewhere with a group of people and actually getting to do an activity that's like hard work, you could say, was actually much more team building than any kind of team building exercise we got to do at the beginning of the course. Not that those weren't fun, but the actual working together outside of school definitely, I think, helped working with the, what do you call it? The team
effort, collaboration.
Team collaboration. I like that.
In comparison to the team building exercise we did do at the beginning of the semester, I will say that I thought the volunteering was better for team building because it was more natural.
Mm-hmm.
It felt irritating to know that we were doing work for free, though.
Yeah, only for what? How many days did we do?
15 hours.
15
hours, but
yeah.
What, 3-hour shifts?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad at all.
And
Very
it's a good
tedious.
skill for the future because in every job, I'm sure we're going to have teamwork and we're going to have to be able to get along with people. And
I also thought it was interesting that we split our hours up into small increments, 3 or 4 hours each. But I ran into another group who they were also at Goodwill doing the same thing we were doing. And they had decided to do everything in 2 or 3 days. And that meant, I don't know, 6 hours every single time, and they hated it. So I think our group pulled, it was a smart one to start breaking up the time into smaller increments. And I think that was good because we don't ever want to procrastinate. And that's a good life lesson that I think we learned from it.
As a negative, I will say that even though the volunteering was good, it wasn't necessarily related to the course. So even though we were there as our management group and talking to each other, we weren't necessarily talking about the class, and it wasn't anything we could take out to bring back and talk about in our vlogs.
That is a good point, but it is. I disagree on the fact that, in principle, it helps us to communicate as well as provide a groundwork for teamwork in a very palpable manner.
I like that.
Thank you.
Besides the Goodwill and the work.
Before we transition, what do you think of the people who worked at Goodwill?
Oh, yeah, true,
because we
true.
had a lot of people there who kept asking us if we were there for court.
Yeah. So, I thought the people who worked with us and taught us what we were going to do they were extremely nice. We told them why we were there. We told them, this is for class. It's just volunteer hours we have to do. And they didn't have a problem with it. They let us come in. We signed in and we got right to work. And they made sure we didn't hurt ourselves. They showed us, the ropes. They made sure we knew the safety measures. And they kept us working, but nothing too, strenuous, I would say. They took good care of us. And they made sure we had a pretty good experience actually volunteering there.
It'd be cool to drive one of the forklifts, even though you do need some prior experience for that, because it is quite dangerous.
this all relates to what we decided as a group was our biggest takeaway from this class was the improved team building skills that we learned by doing this continuous group work. We had assignments almost every week, and we had to meet and learn how to schedule, which also kind of went along with an online class because this was only my second online class.
My first, yeah.
So, and it was a lot different than the other online class I had, so we had to learn a lot about that. It was different. We didn't have as many rules, guidelines. We had to deal with that and problem solve a lot, I found.
Yeah.
A lot of ambiguity associated with the class as well as how we were going to accomplish the work.
But all of that really helped us build our communication skills because we had to talk to each other and figure it out ourselves.
And that was also a lesson I think we pulled from it. doing things ourselves, working with each other, trying to figure it out. We can't always run to somebody to find the answers, so we got to figure it out for ourselves. And I think out of the whole course, that was a point of being an online class and doing our own work. That was something we really needed to learn. If anything, learn that from this course.
Because we use that in the future.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to find things on our own.
We're going to use that in everything we do.
Mm-hmm.
And also have to schedule rather than go to the office hours of our superior. So thank you, Dr. Gower, for that.
Mm-hmm. The videos we had to watch before starting the group work, the videos about group management, group work skills, those were really helpful. We learned a lot from that about.
Oh yeah, the You're
The
Not
beginning
Special video, and those are the ones you're talking
No,
about.
the ones about group work that said tips for group work, like don't
The
argue,
stuff we did in the beginning.
Right,
show up on time,
It was a good
delegate
starting point. for what we
delegate
have to do.
activities, team roles. Those taught us a lot before we even started.
I like those, but transitioning to those other videos that Professor Gower, you had us watch, like Simon Sinek, his video, and the You're Not Special videos, I really like those ones in particular. When we had a blog about them, I felt like I could really type a lot. I kind of just went with it. And I thought the whole idea is, recognizing that you're not special. You have to work with a team. You have to get out there and do hard work to get anything in life. That was a great start to the whole semester as a whole, setting a tone for how the rest of the class would go from there on. I liked it a lot.
Definitely helps to get rid of the self-entitled arrogance that a lot of young people didn't have. At least from my biased perspective of working within the restaurant business, there are a lot of people who do not like to work at all, if not show up for the job, and tend to be quite self-entitled, arrogant as well.
I think I got lucky in my job. My people I work with are pretty not chill or easygoing, but they work well with me. My bosses care about how we're working, and my work anyway. It's Jiffy Lube Live, the amphitheater up in Gainesville. So that requires lots and lots of teamwork and lots of collaboration. Because without it, we're dealing with 20-some thousand people every single venue. So it can get complicated without good communication going around.
Sounds fun. Until when things hit the fan.
Okay. For me personally, there were two readings that I thought were the most beneficial and taught me the most in this class. The first was the appendix to Chapter 9, which talked about jobs and networking and internship tips and the 1-minute self-sell that everyone should have. I thought this was most relevant to me and probably my peers at this point in our lives because a bunch of us are currently applying for internships or maybe about to start searching for jobs. I actually had an interview for an internship this morning.
You just got back from Richmond, didn't you?
Yeah. So, and I actually used a bunch of the tips from the book, from the chapter, like send a thank you letter or email after you interview, have a good handshake, a good appearance, wear good clothes, don't show up more than 10 minutes early. These helped me, and I actually already applied them, and I will definitely apply all the other tips from the chapter in the near future, because I'm sure there'll be more interviews and stuff like that.
I definitely concord with Emily's point about having a good handshake. A lot of people know me just because of my handshake. They always comment my handshake is somewhat too strong, both the men and the women.
Oh.
Yes, very.
Well, I also agree with that because I'm also applying for internships right now, and it's really important to not undersell yourself, which is something that I feel like a lot of college students do because they're like, I don't have that much experience, I can't be very qualified. But then going through the courses they've taken and looking at their own personal experience in any form of jobs, they are more qualified than they usually think.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Like they almost sell themselves short a little bit, but then they realize they are kind of qualified and they just gotta stick up for themselves. That's something else. I felt like this semester I learned is that a lot of people are almost too shy. They don't want to be assertive. They don't want to impose, not impose, but they are not self-confident enough. So I felt like this semester, this class really helped me and some other people, I'm sure, learn how being sure of yourself is really, really good, and it'll help you get a job because bosses like it when they have a team member who knows what to do and doesn't shy away from a challenge. They'll actually face a challenge and continue striving for it, and that's a really important fact that I definitely pulled from this course.
I feel like going off that, it's also important, and again, learning from the appendix in Chapter 9, it's it teaches you to be realistic with your skills, and you're just going to be able to continue learning. And if you address that with your boss, they're going to say, okay, work with someone else. They will teach you, and then you can continue doing it by yourself.
Wait, that's actually a thing? I don't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's easy, just deal with the person. At least in my experience.
All right, and the second reading that I thought was most relevant and important and beneficial from this class was Carnegie. I also have already applied that in 2 different aspects of my personal life right now, to my leadership role on my cross-country team and to participation in group projects, especially this one. A lot of the tips I used and to apply to my cross-country team this year because I was a leader and a captain and a mentor.
You're a captain of your cross-country team?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
She also won things.
Okay.
No,
So-
you're on the TV. You see you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I used the tips like, because I needed to be motivating to motivate my team members to want to run and to do their best. So I used the tips like being kind, be a good listener, be an overall good leader. Tips that helped me do this were give honest and sincere appreciation because people really like to be appreciated and told what they're doing when they're doing a good job. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain because that just makes them feel really bad about themselves and not want to do their best work anymore. And arouse in others an eager want. So I wanted everyone to really want to run and do their best and participate as a member of the team. And that really helped because we achieved our goal of getting top 3 at conferences. So it worked.
That's awesome. I can't talk for this cross-country team, but that sounds very similar. When I was in high school, I ran cross-country. And not anymore, but I did in high school. And our coach used to always tell us to always cheer on any of our teammates that were running, always give encouragement. And even if we weren't running, we have to run up there to every single spot in the race that we could, cheer them on as they go, shout encouragement, shout advice, and everything that we could possibly do to help them keep going. You know, it was a team effort on and off the course. So I really like that. I didn't realize you were a captain, which is pretty cool. And I like what you just said about the encouragement. I thought that was really
Cool.
I think that was very effective.
I think it's
It worked
also
in my
really
team.
important to have the sincerity in the compliments and the praise you're giving because people know when you're just lying and you're just trying to say something positive. But if you're saying something that they know is true about themselves, it's going to make them feel really good.
Mm-hmm. And also we applied this to Carnegie's other tips and advice to our group work, such as when he advised to avoid arguments, respect other people's opinions, be friendly, and try to see things from other people's point of view. I think we all kind of struggled with this at the very beginning, maybe like arguing a bit too much or not being able to agree upon things. But once we read these and once we realized that it's way more effective if we follow these principles from Carnegie, then we got our work done and it was a lot smoother and easier. So applying that really helped.
Also, specifically from Carnegie, listening was the biggest thing. Because to prevent the arguing, if we listened to what the other people had to say, then we got the most done.
So applying Carnegie has already been effective. And again, we are going to use these tips throughout our lives with group work and motivating others.
Active listening.
So
Reiterating what is being said.
exactly. So that was, I think, really beneficial to all of us.
I liked Blink. Was it Blink where they discussed first impressions?
Yes.
That's what it was, yeah. I really enjoyed that section particularly because I see that, well, I'm sure all of us do, see that every single day, whether we meet someone new or see someone else who meets someone new. When you're talking to someone, you know, be kind, be open, and really be interested in them. Those key points I thought really helped me. After reading that, I've definitely focused more on those factors whenever I'm meeting someone new. Because when I was in, middle school, I used to be more of a shy kind of guy. And eventually getting more sociable definitely helped me learn how other people act and want to, meet someone. And this course specifically, the key points that Blink talked about, and I think it was the first 5 chapters about meeting someone for the first time was really eye-opening for me.
I really liked that in Blink, which specifically relevant to management in our future if any of us do just end up being a manager. And it's important to like balance your gut reaction with the logical reaction because you have to make decisions quickly but effectively. And anytime that you veer too much to one or the other, then you're likely to make a mistake.
I like to add to that point. When I had problems within my D-side group, I had to figure out the balance between proactive and reactive in relation to disciplining as well as communicating things within my group since I'm a leader.
Excuse me.
You're excused. Do you have another point?
I was going to add that for the most part, this course has been pretty smooth running. The only part that I didn't like was the very beginning of the course when things got really rocky and everyone was really confused. I mean, it's not that we couldn't control that, so it's just that people were, a little bit concerned about the grades and people weren't sure what was going on. And that was really rocky, but right after that, everything really started to smooth out, and I really enjoyed personally doing the vlogs and our personal vlogs because I'd never done that before. So posting about, typing up and writing about something I think and having someone else read it, knowing someone else is reading it, I thought was really cool because it helps me get my thoughts out there. And, excuse me. And yeah, besides the rocky start, I think the rest of the course has been pretty smooth sailing for the most part. And I enjoyed that because it was my first online class and it was so far a good experience.
I also really agree about the blogging because I felt like if we were blogging and knowing other people were going to see it or likely to see it, then we were more likely to do it on time. And by having something that kept us accountable throughout the semester, we're more likely to do well in general and continue those skills. And I just feel like it's a better system than avoiding the reading and then having to take a final that's just you're regurgitating information and don't carry it with you in the future.
Yes, we need to practice principles that we can carry forward. Continue.
Oh, no, sorry.
I'm sorry. I do agree with your point, both the positive and the negative about the course. I don't really care about the ambiguity about the class itself and how we have to do everything, but it kind of just rolls off and becomes easier as we progress through the course. In addition, I don't really like the blogs. However, I do appreciate the skill of writing and how I've become a better writer because of the constant blogging.
I can agree with that. Like, the more you do something, the more you realize you can get at it and learn from it.
Yeah, it's like exercise.
21 days to build a habit or a skill.
I wonder what I should blog about next.
Well, I know that I'm probably not going to be blogging for a while after this class, but
just take another online class.
I have watched more of the Simon Sinek videos. We only had, I think it was 1 or 2, maybe, at the beginning of the course. But I went back on YouTube and looked up more of his videos, and I thought that he's really, for one, he's a really good public speaker. And so if anyone hasn't continued to see more of those videos, I would suggest you do. And the way he's great at describing, great at explaining, and his ideas and concepts are pretty fantastic. My favorite one, he was describing a company that had a rough patch, and they had to fire a large number of their employees. But instead of doing that, their boss said, no, these are my employees, I'm going to take care of them. And he said to everyone that I'm not going to fire any of you, but everyone has to take at some point 3 weeks of unpaid leave off. And he said it was crazy because when he said that, instead of getting mad, all the employees worked with each other, took time off, and some people who could take more time off took more days away from someone else who couldn't take so much time off. And it showed that instead of completely firing everybody, by giving them a goal to work for and helping them out, making sure they keep their jobs, they really came together and started working together even better as a company. And I thought that was a really cool example for one. And he had more like that throughout all of his videos. And I think, again, you guys should all be watching those. You guys too.
Sounds really interesting, actually.
Another thing that we've already kind of used after learning in the class, there was a section in one of the chapters about giving and receiving criticism and how to do that well. And we've already applied that in class because with our peer evaluations. So those, I've never had to do that. I know we've had to evaluate people maybe after a project, but we've never had to read it to their face and talk to them.
And it's always been on a number system before. It's like, did they do this? 1 through 5. And you're like, well, I guess I should say 5 because it's rude not to. But in this class, it's like you had to balance the positives and negatives in like a polite and mature way, but
Yeah.
giving real feedback.
And say why. Yeah, say why you gave the number. And it was interesting to receive the criticism because it's always hard, but it is good to learn what you're doing wrong and how you can improve.
Constructive criticism can go a long way. I think that was a major point to take away. And I also liked it because face-to-face conversations, which is what the peer evaluations were, was something we read about. And only this last chapter, was it chapter 13 or 14, I believe, and
One of them.
one of them, it was talking about face-to-face conversations, and I really enjoy that because I personally enjoy talking to people face-to-face. And I text, but texting can only get you so far, and in Texas you can't tell jokes, you can't tell anything really through text message because there's no emotion with it. Face to face was great because I got to learn what they're thinking, and we got to talk, work our problems out, and any kind of face-to-face ordeal is really important because you don't want to go into a job interview and suddenly you just have no idea what to do. You don't know what to say, you don't know when to smile or when to agree. And I think it was a great point that face-to-face really brings out your social skills and helps you out later in life and even now.
Continue on that with the social skills. It's also really important to have experience gauging people's reactions, which face-to-face conversations is good for.
Yeah, exactly. Like if I was talking to someone over text, I'd never be able to tell if they were mad or if they were being sarcastic. In person, you can tell all the emotions right away, and you can really get a good communication, good relationship going with someone. If you also follow what they said in Blink about the meeting someone for the first time and just being open and friendly, follow literally the principles that the books tell you, and you're almost guaranteed to be solid with anyone new that you meet.
Majority of our communications are done in a non-verbal fashion, so it is very important that we pay attention and we surround ourselves in the channel of communication that is most rich, which is face-to-face, or if not, we do that in voice, and then from there we go to something much more indirect, like email or text.
Continuing from that, the videos that we had to do in general, I thought were also really good because it was practice speaking to people, and we had to know the information. It couldn't be we're looking off a paper, we're having to look it up at the time. We had to understand it, and people would be able to tell if we didn't. So it also encouraged us to learn it, and not just have to look it up and be like, I'm not really sure. This is what it says, though.
Yeah, the personal videos we had to do, I know that helped me because for one, I'd never done it before. And two, talking and hearing myself out loud and realizing that, sometimes I stutter on some words or I don't say things too clearly, helped me for sure realize that I need to really, sometimes maybe work on my pronunciation here and there. Don't mutter here too much. Make sure I'm always clear and making sure other people can hear me. That helped me learn, especially just through the video, replaying it and watching it for myself. That's a key point that I think I took away from that, and the vlog has certainly helped me in my speaking with not just bosses that I'm going to have in the future, but with any colleagues that I'm working with. You got any other ideas, Emily? I know you wrote down a lot. Yeah, I got a lot of ideas.
Well, another chapter that I thought was kind of important for all of us was chapter 11, Motivating for High Performance. Again, this was kind of similar things from Carnegie and other things that we saw, like giving praise, reward and recognition programs, and then an interesting topic was reinforcement versus punishment, and whether you would enact promising rewards or promising punishments to motivate your employees. Which one do you think is more effective to say if you work harder you can get a reward, or if you don't work hard you'll get a punishment?
What about both?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not really sure. I know I answered that in the blog, but I think I've kind of forgotten what I posted in that. I do know that I did read that section. I thought that was very accurate to what we would be experiencing or have already experienced, and I liked it. I know that's for sure. I liked reading how all these ideas that I've thought of in my head or other people have thought of in their heads, seeing them on paper and seeing someone else describe them and you can relate to it. That's another great way I think the book helped us learn, because I'm sure everyone has thought about, first meetings or how to talk to somebody or how, videos or anything the books talked about. Seeing it in writing helped me out realizing that I'm not the only one, for starters, who thought of this idea. And two, I can read these and they give me finer details and finer points. And that helps me realize, oh, I can hone on this idea or work on these certain skills that I've already thought about. But without proper guidance, I was just, they were just thoughts in my head. Now with proper guidance from the books and the principles that we've had, I like those because it really helps me realize what I can focus on, how to get the job done, how to talk to somebody, and just work as a group, especially like our group, work better all together.
I'm going to go back to the chapter 11 thing with the punishment and rewards because I used to be a psych major. I know you're a psych major.
Yeah.
So that's something we learn in Psych 101 and we talk about in so many behavioral psych classes. And you do it if you ever have a pet, you have to train your animals. And, like, they need to know manners too. And most I'd say mammals, I guess. I don't really know about other animals. They're naturally praise seekers, and they're like, or say with dogs, they're often like food motivated, and so generally you can assume that positive reinforcement is always going to like work better, and like people aren't going to be upset about it, and people often will be upset if you say, hey, if you don't get this in time, you're just not getting your paycheck or something like that, which is an extreme example, but you can get demoted in your salary and such like that.
I also think, depending on what they have to get done, I feel like if they're promised punishment, if they don't do it, some people might try to avoid it, like try to be rebels and get around it and not get caught, depending on what it is. Like, if it's something they have to turn in, then obviously they have to do it, and that might motivate them so that they don't get punished. But if it's just, like, don't, like, take this, or, like, take a pencil from somewhere, they might just be like, oh, or, like, don't take a pencil or you got punished. They might just, like, take it and be like, oh, I won't get caught. And then they might not get caught. Like, if they're going for a reward, they have to do whatever they're supposed to do to get that reward.
And who doesn't like rewards?
Yeah. So they might work harder for that.
There's also the fact that if you're promised a punishment, you can just get really upset about it and then not work as well. Because, like, say with schools, if it's, like,
too scared.
If you turn something in, like, an hour late, you're going to just automatically get 50%, even if you turn it in and have a perfect paper or something. But if you do that and you're busy with other classes, you're just not going to turn it in because you're not going to get a good grade.
It also continues the trend among college students who feel very angsty about school. Those who are motivated by consequences generally get addicted to the angst or the anxiety that helps to motivate them at the last minute. They need that pressure.
Sounds like me. Any more ideas that you liked about the class, guys?
That's everything that was most beneficial to me.
I would say a negative would be that I would prefer more interaction with Dr. Gower personally, because I've heard that she is a very funny woman, and it makes me almost jealous of the people who are in class who get to interact with her personally.
I thought it was interesting, the final point before we wrap up, as he just stated, we never saw Professor Gower, and we never really saw anyone in the class. But I think that was also, on top of this whole semester, or this class in particular, the point of this class is to teach us about the finer points of managing in business and being self-reliant and working as a team and not relying on, tons of other people to do the job for us. Being online in the class itself, that just forces us almost already into a scenario where we have to fend for ourselves a little bit. And I think that was a great way to take this class a step further. I liked it. It's
definitely akin to the liberal arts sense of the school, and it is, I would say, in terms of intensity, it's not quite as much as other classes, but it's cool. I like it.
It's intense in other ways.
We learned a lot. Lots of information.
And improved our social skills.
It's
I liked it.
Communication intensive.
I would definitely recommend it to someone else to take.
Speaking intensive.
All right, I think that's it. So thank you for listening. Thank you for listening.